Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate, or I go by AlwaysMoreSims here on YouTube. And today we're doing another speed build. I apologize for being out of breath. I am clearly still sick, and I can no longer breathe out of my nose. So, I've been very out of breath today, because I'm not much of a mouth breather. So, yeah. So this video and my review of the Decor to the Max kit are the only two videos I didn't have pre-recorded. So these are the only two videos that I sound like garbage in. And again, I do apologize, especially because now I'm a lot more congested. I literally thought to myself, well, because I did the Decor to the Max video yesterday. And I thought to myself, at least I can still breathe out of my nose. And I woke up this morning and could no longer breathe out of my nose. So, yeah, I'm very stuffy, and, so I apologize if I'm sniffling, coughing, clearing my throat at all. If I have to cut out to sneeze or anything like that, I do apologize. But anyways, yeah, so we are building in The Sims 4. This house is called Birch Box, because it is a very, boxy styled home. I feel like it is a lot more modern looking on the outside. It's not as modernly decorated on the inside. It's a little more like contemporary. But I don't think it doesn't match. It's not necessarily like sleek, modern, high-tech everything inside. This house actually only includes 4 packs outside of the base game. So, I used Eco Lifestyle, Laundry Day, Dream Home Decorator, and the new, I tried to challenge myself to use the Decor to the Max kit, which I did use a rug, some paintings, the peacock and giraffe statues. I used the hallway table. I think I used a mirror. So I used like a couple things here and there, but none of the really like loud pieces. I didn't use those. But I don't mind this house. Maybe I'll use it for like a current household at some point, or maybe I'll put like one of my Sims' kids in it for like, I'm a lover. I don't know. I wouldn't mind using this house at some point though. So yes, it is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and that's really about it. I don't know what else to say. So I actually have a story time that I want to talk to you guys about. I mentioned it in one of my recent videos that I wanted to talk to you guys about something, that I had like a story time for you guys, and I was saving it for this speed build specifically. So I love horses. I know I've talked about horses before. One of my favorite things to do, there's a certain phrase I'm looking for. But like one of the highlights of my summer is when I get to go horseback riding with my friend and her grandparents, because her grandparents own horses. The last 2 summers now, I have gone on like a week-long horseback riding trip. And so much fun. I love it so much. I adore horses, would have one myself if I could afford one and if I had the room for one. I love horses. A couple summers ago, I used to volunteer at a local horse stable. But if you've been around for a while, you might have heard the story of the story of Sarah. And that I don't really go out to the stable anymore because Sarah was the one that was known out there. I was just kind of the friend that tagged along, and I always kind of got the feeling that they weren't the biggest fan of me when I was out there. So it's one of those things, like, I don't want to go out there by myself, and I don't have, like, my friend is too busy to go out with me. My dad, like, he works, like, they need somebody either at 7 in the morning or at 3 in the afternoon. And my dad normally leaves for work at 7, and he doesn't get home from work till, like, 4. So, like, anyways. Love horses, would do more with horses if I could. So, speaking of my dad and work, my dad's job is actually selling the materials and creating the blueprints and like plans for large steel-sided buildings. So like barn dominiums and like tractor sheds, like big steel-sided buildings. Like my dad, the company he works for makes the siding, like makes all the materials needed for these buildings, and then my dad will actually like drop the plans and the blueprints and everything needed to actually build these buildings. And last year around this time, a woman reached out to him and she's like, hey, I need a new indoor arena built for my horses, and I have to sneeze. I love sneezing. It clears up one of my nostrils for a second before it reclogs. And it's already clogged back up again. Anyways, my dad happened to mention to this woman, he's like, oh my gosh, like my daughter loves horses. And she's like, oh, she should totally come and like help me with them over the summer. Well, the summer came and went. I never heard from her, which I totally get. This woman has like 30 to 40 horses. There's a lot of horses. And yeah, pretty sure she just flat out forgot, which I don't blame her for. Totally get it. But he follows this woman on Facebook, because that's how a lot of like people find him. My dad runs like the Facebook page for the company, and then he like friends them, and he saw that she posted on Facebook that she was looking for help at her like horse facility, and he sent it to me, and he's like, oh my gosh, this sounds like right up your alley. I think you'd have so much fun with this. And so I immediately messaged this woman. I'm like, oh my gosh, hi, I would love to help out. I love horses. I've worked with horses before. Now, granted, it has been a hot minute, but I do have experience with horses. So she was like, oh yeah, like, so this was 2 weeks ago. I texted her 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, so it was like exactly 2 weeks ago when this video goes up. That following Monday, I went to go like see the facility, meet her in person, meet some of the horses, kind of learn a bit more about what was needed for the job. And I just kind of jumped into this without really thinking too much about it, because if you don't know, gas prices, at least here in the United States, are insane right now. They're insanely high. And my car does not get good gas mileage at all. In the slightest. Crap gas mileage. So I didn't really think about it too much. I should have thought about actually taking this job a lot more than I did. Because again, I just kind of jumped into it. I didn't really think about how it would affect, like, how it would work with my school schedule and stuff like that. So, as she explained it, she's like, basically, you'd be, like, cleaning stalls, feeding, either letting horses, like, out into, like, the pasture, or bringing them into, like, their stalls, bathing them, like, brushing them, stuff like that. She's like, but however, at the moment, like, we are in desperate need of someone to help clean the stables because there are so many stalls. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I've cleaned stalls before. Granted, it's been a couple of years, so I'm not as physically capable as I once was with cleaning stalls. But, like, yeah, I've cleaned stalls before. So she's like, oh, that's awesome. So, like, the way she explained it made it sound like I'd have, like, 2 or 3 days. I'd be assigned a certain amount of stalls, and I'd have, like, 2 or 3 days to get these stalls clean. That, like, depending on, like, my time, like, how much time I'd have, like, on one day. So maybe one day I only had, like, a couple hours that I could be out there, then I'd get, like, 3 or 4 stalls cleaned, and then I would come back, like, the next day and do, like, the rest of them, or something like that. That is how she made it sound. Well, I was offered the job, showed up for the job on that following Thursday, and I was introduced to the barn manager, who ended up being, like, my supervisor for the day. And basically found out that no, I do not have, like, 2 or 3 days to clean my amount, like, of assigned stalls. I had to clean all of those stalls, on that day. And my first day there, I was assigned 10 stalls to clean. Again, it's not the fact that I was cleaning stalls, it was just the fact that I was like my body was unused to having to do that much hard labor, which I hate how like entitled that makes me sound, because I'm aware that's how it comes off. I come off sounding extremely entitled, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do like manual labor ever. But I don't have an athletic bone in my body. I am not a particularly strong person. I am very like noodle armed. And I'm not that strong. I don't work out a lot. I am not built, or used to cleaning that many stalls. And so I kind of wish I wasn't assigned 10 stalls to clean on my first day. I was kind of expecting it to be more of like a build up of like, okay, so like this first day we'll just assign you like 3 or 4 stalls, and then the next day I'll be assigned like 5 or 6 stalls, and like kind of work me up. But I was immediately thrown into 10 stalls, which I felt was a little much. And again, I understand that comes off sounding kind of privileged. No, not kind of privileged, it's definitely privileged, and I'm not trying to sound privileged or like, oh my gosh, it's too much work, I don't want to work. It literally was not the problem of the work, it was just the fact that I was unused to the strength and endurance required for said work. And I was fully prepared to work at it and get used to it. It was not one of those things I was like, well, I'm not doing this. So I get there, and the owner's like walking around, and there's the barn manager, and the barn manager would pass by after I would like finish a stall, and she'd be like, oh my gosh, you didn't pick up nearly enough in here. What the heck are you doing? You need to be picking up more. Like sifting through the sawdust to pick up more wet sawdust from like where the horses had like peed on it. And then the owner would walk through, and on the same stall she'd be like, oh my god, you're picking up way too much, what are you doing? And I'd be like, I thought I wasn't picking up enough. And she's like, no, you're picking up way too much. And that was literally every stall. I could not appease either of them for any of the stalls. I was either picking up way too much or not enough. I couldn't find a happy medium that either of them were content with. So I was only supposed to be out there from 2 to 5. I had dinner plans with my family. I was supposed to be gone by 5. So 5:30 comes around, and my dad starts texting me. He's like, hey, is everything okay? Like, kind of expected you to be home by now. Like, are you all right? And I text him like, I honestly don't know when I'll be home, because at 5 o'clock I was only 4 stalls in. I'd been there for 3 hours, and between not being used to the amount of strength and the amount of endurance required to clean these stalls, and having to like basically clean the stalls twice in order to like appease both of the people, like both the owner and the barn manager, I was taking forever. I was getting like a stall every hour and a half, which is unnecessary. It was awful. And so I told him like, I don't know when I'm going to be home. I have no idea. I'm not even halfway through yet. I am expected to clean 10 stalls before I can leave. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know when I'll be home. So then my dad, he's like, well, how much are you getting paid for this again? So I was getting paid $3 a stall, which in hindsight is not, honestly, I don't think it was enough for like how meticulous they were. I feel like I don't know, I'm not going to go into it, but so for cleaning 10 stalls, I was paid $30. This stable was like 25 minutes outside of town. My car gets crap gas mileage. Put it like this, for the $30 I spent more than half of that in the amount of gas I wasted going to and from there. So it was one of those things I didn't really think about the gas aspect, which I really should have. And so I'm texting my dad, and he's like, I think when you get home tonight, we should probably talk about this a little more. I don't really know if this is exactly what you were you weren't doing what you were explained you were gonna have to do. Like, it's ending up being something completely different than what you were told the job was. Not, no, I think he was going a little overboard there, because not exactly. Like, I was told I was going to have to clean stalls. I just didn't think I was going to be tossed into having to clean 10 stalls right off the bat. And again, I still feel bad saying that. I feel so entitled and privileged. But anyways, so we're out in the middle of nowhere too. So my phone is dying like crazy because I can't find a reliable signal, and it's spending all this time searching. But I didn't want to turn my phone off because I knew my dad kept trying. Was like continuously trying to get in touch with me. So I had my AirPods with me because I was like, oh, I'll just slip in an AirPod and like I'll listen to some music, or maybe listen to like an episode of like SVU or something while I'm cleaning stalls, which didn't end up happening once I saw how fast my phone was dying. But I did pop an AirPod in, and I called my dad and I'm like, okay, here's what's going on. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if what you're getting paid is worth all of this. And as the day had progressed, the barn manager's attitude started to like shift. Like she was getting annoyed with me, I think because of how long I was taking. I was supposed to work that following Friday, and my dad was starting to like urge me to be like, no, I think you need to quit. I don't think you need this job. He's like, you're not that desperate for the money. It's not like I'm desperate. I'm not desperate for money right now. I mean, it'd be nice to have some extra, but he's like, it's not worth it. Not for what I'd be getting paid. And so the barn manager, like, while I'm cleaning a stall, I'm like halfway through the 4th stall, and she pulls me aside and she's like, so we need to talk about scheduling. Are you still planning on being here tomorrow? And not wanting to like have myself be put down for like doing all these, like have myself be scheduled to do all of these dates and then text like the next day and be like, hey, I'm quitting. I straight up told her, I'm like, I'm a little hesitant to tell you what to put down because I like the gas is actually making me kind of hesitant. I admit to her, I'm like, I totally just jumped into this. I didn't really think about it. Sorry, I had to cut out there for a second. But I didn't want to be like one of those people that I'm like, oh yeah, expect me to be here this day, when I have like my dad like telling me, he's like, I think you really need to reconsider this. I was so annoyed at that point that like nobody could make up their mind on what I was supposed to do, that I was like, yeah, maybe this isn't for me, which again made me feel bad. So I told her, I expressed to her, I'm like, I didn't really think about this, I just kind of jumped into it because I'm like, oh, horses. And I watched her like a whole demeanor shift. And again, I understand I was putting them into a difficult spot. So she's like, well, if you're not going to be here tomorrow, just tell me. And so I'm like, honestly, the way it's looking right now, I probably won't be. And she's like, well, you need to finish your 10 stalls. And I fully intended on like finishing the stalls that I'd been assigned to do. I didn't intend on just leaving and not finishing what I had already started. But when I brought up my gas, she starts bashing my car. Now, see, I'm extremely, like, I'm a very proud person when it comes to my car. I love my car. It is, like, my pride and joy. I adore my car. And when I mentioned that I was kind of hesitant about the gas, she's like, well, that's your fault. You shouldn't be driving that car. You should have picked a different car. That was the wrong kind of car to be doing this kind of job. You should be driving a wagon like me. Like, that's just the wrong car. You need a different car. And this is after she already told me I was going to have to get different shoes because apparently the cowgirl boots I had weren't good enough. And I'm like, what was the reason to bash my car? Like, why was that necessary? I'm sorry I keep cutting out. I keep feeling like I need to sneeze and then I don't sneeze. But I didn't see the point in her like bashing my car. I felt like that was kind of like unnecessary. And then when she's like, so are you like, if you're not coming back tomorrow, just tell me. And I'm like, well, I don't think, like, probably not. And she tells me, she's like, people like you don't want to work anyways. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but you don't know my, like, I didn't say this. But I wanted to say, I'm sorry, but you don't know my work ethic. I'm quitting because I'm tired, like, after a day. And I felt awful. I felt awful doing this, like, quitting after being a day. I didn't want to be one of those people that quits after a day. But I was like, well, I'm already exhausted trying to appease the both of you and never doing anything correctly. After you told me this morning, after like the second stall, that I didn't clean correctly, like to either of your standards, she originally told me, she's like, don't worry, we'll work with you on it. We'll work with you until you get it right. And I was like, oh, okay. And then like she was annoyed with me by my third stall. And I'm like, I didn't think it was going to like take this long. Like I told my parents I'd be home by 5, and she's like, well, yeah, you should have been done hours ago. You're taking way too long to do this. And I wanted to scream at her. I'm like, it's because none of you are happy with how I'm doing things. You think I'm doing it wrong. The owner's like thinking I'm doing it wrong. I can't make either of you happy, and I have to redo the stalls twice, like every time, because you're never happy. So she left. She went home. She had finished everything she had to do. She went home. The owner went down into like there's like 2 barns. She went down into the second barn. I finished the stalls I had left, and like the last 3 I didn't even care anymore. I went in, I scooped up like the obvious stuff, and then I threw it out. I'm like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. Like the owner was nice and all, but I couldn't deal with the barn manager, and I feel so bad. I feel so bad, but I guess I'm now one of those people that quit after a day, and I feel terrible about doing so, but I was done. I was like, I'm tired of trying to appease everybody. I'm sorry it didn't work out. I was looking forward to working with the horses, but I felt like I was just tossed into the deep end. So yep, I'm one of those people that's quit after a day of working. Not something I'm proud of, but I'm literally out of time. This is the last screenshot here, so thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my stuff down in the description, and I'll see you guys all in my next video. Bye, guys!